Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
A little early on the top 5 today because I feel this one probably bears a little more discussion.
You think we'll leave before 6?
No.
God.
No. I don't. But there's a lot.
You are a clock masochist.
Oh, no. Sir. See, you doing that, that's a lot of times what, like, politicians do, and like, the opposition party, no, the opposition party didn't read this bill, when, like, you didn't read it either. You're the one, ask all the producers, some of whom have gone right off their rocker because of your treatment of the clock.
We left the studio at 6:09 yesterday.
Yes.
Okay. No, we ended the show.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm delaying that. By the way, Kevin Hoffman's wife, Tammy, just
Whose
said,
segment is this?
Said, best birthday present ever on Kevin Hoffman.
Oh, he's not going to be home all the time? Yeah. No. All right. Now let's get to the point.
That's his sister.
Yeah. Top 5 questions about new NCAA governance. Oh. Number 5, and I asked Max Olson this, will there actually be consequences for rule breakers? Like right now, what are the consequences if you break the rules?
None.
That's going to stop you from breaking the rules.
None.
Depends on who you are and the timing of it. I mean, Oklahoma State's not some nilly-willy school, and yet their basketball program got hammered for a whole lot of really nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. And then there's other examples of, I'm sure people will point to Baylor. Why didn't the NCAA do worse? Well, because jurisdiction-wise, they couldn't. They're not the cops. I mean, so that's what that was. But, yeah, I mean, I think no one's scared of the NCAA anymore, basically.
Shouldn't
and so, will there be consequences? I mean, what can they really do, quite frankly? They couldn't really do much to Baylor because it was out of their jurisdiction again. And, we've seen some of the penalties that levied against some schools, and I don't know how much of a difference it's really made. So, yeah, I'm curious of how much you have to worry about the big, bad NCAA, because I don't think a lot of people do right now, and maybe this changes that, their restructure, but I don't think that it will.
Some of the schools that have in the past turned others in probably more than anyone else are the ones now who are blatantly using the NIL because they can to bring players on board.
Yeah, well, and it's, will there actually be rules? Like right now, are there rules? I mean, there are, but like...
No, there's not.
Is it like anything, there's not... Okay, there might be rules. There's not commandments. The NCAA needs commandments where you actually feel guilty about breaking them.
Well, yeah, what are the rules now? Like what can you get, the death penalty for, or what can you lose scholarships over, or what can you, get a show cause for? I don't know, because the whole paying players was basically 95% of their penalties, and that's not a big deal now. So, what would you have to do? Hopefully we don't find out, I guess.
Yeah, and it used to be when you called up a booster and said, hey, can you give this guy $10,000, that phone call alone would get you in trouble. Yeah, now if there was something that you are encouraged to do.
Yeah, here's the thing. People are doing it blatantly now because they know they can. They're not worried about the NCAA, as you both mentioned. No one's afraid of them, but also because there are no rules. And so you can. And it still blows my mind that what SMU did when it was illegal and they got hit and hammered, and so have many others. Now it's basically, at least it was under the table. Now it's like, here's the cash.
Yeah. Number 4, what will be the athlete compensation rules? Because there's going to have to be athlete compensation rules. This is coming. This is the last barrier to break. And I don't know if it was in Ross Dellinger's article or not, but the AD from North Carolina said, look, in 2-3 years, it's not going to be student-athlete university anymore relationships. It'll be employer-employee relationships, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no idea on where this goes from here, but I have a hard time believing that many universities out there are going to be able to have full payrolls for student athletes. I don't know how you could do that. As much money as even some of them are bringing in, would you want to do that? I mean, And, to what extent? Are you paying volleyball players? How much in comparison to football play? How does that all get figured out? I'm glad I don't have to be in charge of all that. But, yeah, there's going to be something coming. There's, for every 99 athletes that are happy, there's going to be that one guy that gets told, like, hey, you should file a lawsuit to flip this ruling because then you could get – and then, eventually the guy probably makes $5 when all is said and done. But, yeah, there's attorneys out there in the waters that are going to keep pushing this whole employee-employer thing in the NCAA. That's not going to go anywhere.
Eventually, when they were cheating under the table, whoever school you want to talk to, somebody gets disenchanted and turns somebody in. What's going to happen now when it's blatant, even though it might be legal, someone's going to have their feelings hurt at some point that they didn't get as much as maybe their teammate, and I wonder will they blow the whistle? And now if they blow the whistle, what can they blow it on?
Yeah.
Like for example, let's say it's $10,000 for all three of us, but then you find out I got $25,000. Wouldn't you be pissed?
Yeah, a little bit.
And then you create stress. The question's going to be is how is it handled inside of a locker room or clubhouse?
Yeah. Number 3, gambling sponsors are okay now. Wow. That's one of the things that's kind of come out of this, that the NCAA will start cozying up to gambling sponsors. And look, I'm kind of all for this, except for the fact that they've teetered on the brink of doing this wrong anyway. But
money,
it's money because look, you lose enough money in the NCAA. Over the COVID years, who has money that they're just throwing it around right now? Gambling sponsors.
They are just and also ED pills.
Yeah,
right. Probably spend more money, and maybe I don't even know if beer spends as much money as before.
But yeah, gambling, and part of them spending that much money is they're trying to make sure it's legal in all states. Mm-hmm. So if you, for example, we have BetUS that we sponsor here, but if you're Caesars and you're not legal in all states yet, like right now, they're trying to get the app legal in their gambling app, their sports gambling app, legal in Louisiana. We were there. They had billboards all over the place. They have casinos in Louisiana, but their gambling app is not yet legal in Louisiana. Part of the reason the big advertising push is so that the electorate, the populace there tells their elected officials, hey, get this done so I can spend my money on it.
Yeah. You're not allowed to gamble, but we want to make sure that they give us money so we can earn more revenue.
This is just a slight note, but Dak Prescott fined $25,000 for his comments the other day.
Not a surprise.
Yeah.
Not a surprise. That's what happens when you criticize the officials. All right, number 2, how much say will the A5 have? The Autonomy 5.
He wasn't criticizing officials. He was complimenting.
He was doing well.
I know.
All right. Number 2, how much say will the A5 have in this? And we know they'll have most of the say, but the other conferences, the group of 5 conferences, how much say do they get to have in the governance rules? Do they just have to kind of go along with the A5s, which is probably what they'll do? But how much say will they have compared to the A5? And is this now where the A5 basically sets the rules? Is a decentralized governance structure? So there's not going to be an NCAA overlording everybody like it has been. So how much does this mean that now the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, and Pac-12 make all the rules?
We know the answer to that.
Well, this is all happening because they don't want to be told by the American Athletic Conference or the MAC that they should have the same rules. So I think they'll have 99% of the say, and maybe on occasion one of these other conferences will be able to put in their 2 cents. But, I think this is all revolving around the A5 to begin with. So
better be a damn good idea when they do.
Yeah. And
well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Craig.
I just think that that's the whole reason it's happening. So, they're going to have all of it, if not for sure most of it.
One of the arguments we hear about the college football playoff and expansion, whatever, all that. The college basketball playoff, which is incredible. One of the things now that the Power 5 schools are upset about is the fact that all of those other conferences that have basketball teams only are getting an automatic qualifier. Now they're starting to push back on that, where even, let's say, Gonzaga in that conference or Monmouth or others, just name them, Hartford, and they're having a bad year, that they don't want them getting automatic qualifiers.
Yeah.
They're arguing against it. That's one of the next things that might drop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right now, and what about Division 2 and Division 3? Number 1, what happens to these schools? We don't talk about them all that much. Nobody really does unless you're in their small schools. But what does happen to them? Especially if the A5 decides, listen, we're not going to subsidize as much as we used to anymore. This is decentralized. We don't have to. So figure out your own model, and that's where maybe an NAIA model probably comes in for Division II and Division III.
I think that they get 2 or 3, 4%, whatever the number is for Division II, and then maybe 4%. Division IIIs get 3%, and they barely are surviving on that.
Yeah.
I don't think anything really changes. I think it just stays the same for them.
Don't you think there'll be some attrition with some programs,
I'm sure there will be, but I don't think anything really changes. What money are they getting to begin with?
Not much.
I mean, they're not getting hardly any of it to start. And that's the whole argument for those schools is they're already the big group's already getting 95% of what comes in. So that's not changing. They're not going to certainly get more. If anything, they'd get less. And so, yeah, I don't think anything's changing. And it's already a tiny number. And if it goes down even more, I mean, maybe it just eventually leads to where we get another ratifying of the whatever the hell we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And those schools eventually just say, like, okay, we can't play in this pool anymore. It's too deep for us. And we're going to go play in this other pool we just created with other schools and other swimmers that are like us. I think that's where it's ultimately headed because they're already getting so little to begin with, and now they have even less say.
One of the things here is that 4.3% of the money, the NCAA of revenue, goes to Division II institutions. Now, that 4.3% is whatever that chunk is, then is distributed among all Division II schools who are in athletics, whatever, I don't know what sports, and then right below that, Division III gets like just under 4%. And again, if they get that little now, expect that much less going forward.
Well, how many athletic scholarships do they have?
No, Division III has none.
Division II doesn't really have any. So, I mean, that nothing changes with that. You're not signing big NIL deals or big scholarship classes or anything like that. So I think it's just kind of business as usual. And you just worry if you're Division II and Division III if that body of water between you and the big boys is just turning into an ocean rather than being a pond like it was or a lake. But now it's like the gap. It's like being on the coast of California trying to stare at Russia or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good analogy. No question.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Thank you very much. Armstrong Sims, thank you. I will send you more emails for you not to read tomorrow for us to have on the show. Dr. Linda Livingstone of Baylor, who was at the NCAA convention. Mac Rhodes was there. ADs, presidents, et cetera, were all there. She'll be on with us tomorrow. And a couple of more